Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center in studio. Feel free to ask questions. Please share this out. Let us know what you have going on today. We want to hear maybe even what you did yesterday, you and the family. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. My name is Gardy. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center here in studio. They're based out of League City, Texas, and they've been serving the community for some years now. Dr. Chapa.
18 years, brother.
18. I always want to say 14 because I think that's whenever we started maybe working together. It had been 14 years, and been a while.
Some trench work that was done, some definite underground pipelining that was being harvesting, preparing for where we met. And, it was interesting, doing talks and public figuring, I guess, is never, people like maybe have told me that, oh man, you should have been a preacher, or you should do this, you're really good at this, or at speaking and stuff. And I was not always comfortable in the limelight and comfortable speaking to subject matters because, there's always this like little bit of doubt and unbelief in yourself and your ability to present an information to a body of people, because what if somebody in there knows more than you do? You know what I mean? Like there's that and people, mentors of mine have told me, what I'm going to ask you a question is, and I bet you have the same answer everybody in our listening world would have. And by the way, great morning, or shall I say grape morning to all that are tuned in to the Living Well show today. And so I am Dr. Chapa, and I'm excited that you guys are tuning in because Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center loves life, man. We love interacting with the community and at large. So if you're listening on the radio and it's rainy outside, man, just know that it's going to be a good day. It's going to be an awesome day. If you're live on the social media platforms, man, we love that you're there and present. Ask some questions today. That's what we're here for. And I think you even have a text that they can text questions to directly. Kurt always throws out some sort of a
Kurt just likes
line.
Giving out his phone number, so that way, hopefully, a cute girl will text him.
There's probably that underlying undertone. Yeah, honestly, I might have picked up on that. But we give people alternatives to drugs and surgery, and we teach people how to live better, be better, and stay better one bite at a time. And we believe that the body can heal, and so. Going back to what I was kind of leading up to was in the beginning, I remember going on the radio for the first time and just being absolutely intimidated by the fact that I have a camera in my face that I can't see anybody on the other side of. I have this weird object in front of me that I got to seemingly talk to, and I don't know who's out there that can hear. And I've heard on the radio it's like a revolving door, like people come and people go, people jump back on, people jump off, and they catch nuggets, right? And you have to constantly be kind of sharing your message. Oh, we give people alternatives to drugs and surgery. We teach people how to live better, be better, and stay better. You've got to quickly give a message, but then get some meat. You know what I mean? There's a lot of inner things happening in my head when I'm on the show platform, if you will. And I remember that, and here's the question so that we can get to it, which is, what is the number one fear that most people have? We don't say all, most people have.
Everybody has, that most people have. I would say some kind of embarrassment.
Oh, I am so impressed. You're the first person that's ever actually got the real answer. The what most people, 95% of the people would say is public speaking, and it's not public speaking. It's in the fear of embarrassment. That's 100%. I am so impressed that you got that. Good job, bravo! If we had the little,
we do. We have the palette from the Happy Birthday palette. I could maybe find a round of applause.
We got to somehow bring some of that in. I mean,
all the time.
I think that would make the show all the more fun. It'd be like old school, like TikTok McLaughlin, and he's like, doing all the crazy things in the studio. But yes, good job. It's embarrassment, the fear of embarrassment. And so if somebody in the room potentially was smarter than I am, I would have been like, ooh, and
luckily you've been in here with me for most of these, so you're safe.
Well, but the weird thing is there's people on the social media platforms that I have a great deal of respect for, and I'm thinking, what if they heard my show? Mm-hmm. Would they go, man, that's a good show. I could listen to that guy. I mean, I already know that stuff, but I could listen to his flavor, right? His way. And so I'd listen to different podcasts. I listen to different podcasts all the time. And I even, interestingly, and I think God's kind of funny, he's got a sense of humor. And I've heard people in the realm of movies that don't like watching themselves on the big screen. And I'm not sure why, other than the fact that they just don't like, maybe there's a little bit of a self issue, a self-image issue, in that they don't want to see who they performed as or acted out as or created a character in. And I look at it like, any way I can self-improve is my end goal. Like, I want to be a better version of Aaron Chapa today than I was yesterday, and I want to be a better version tomorrow, Lord willing. And I continually pray that often, that Lord, continue to give me wisdom and guidance, continue to help me bring information and insight to people in a way that they can understand why their body's breaking down health-wise and what they can do, give them a solution to fix it. Because at that point, it's your life, your health, your choice. Whether or not you listen to what I say and actually apply what I'm teaching, that's up to you. I can't want it for you more than you do. That's why we want people coming into the office. That's why we want people, in this case, which kind of took the last 4 shows, and we've been doing a lot of Q&A. We want questions. We want dialogue. I want to create a space where, yes, I mean, some of you guys out there, that y'all want all the hard science, and if that's your flavor, I got some great resources for you. I'm not there yet in my life, and I think I'm finally coming to grips with my style. I'm a trench worker. I am in the clinical research realm. It's happening active and live for me, right? And when I'm in the clinic space, and even in the show, like as we've been doing this consistently, I've had people, say the show's good, and I've had other people say, I would never listen to that. And I've had other people say, it's decent. I've had other people say, oh, I really like it. I've had two guys that they listen faithfully. Nick Sandu, if you're out there, God bless you. And even if he doesn't catch it live, he'll catch it on the rerun.
Or the podcast, video. There's so many different ways.
One of my UPS drivers, Brad Hall, he's awesome because he'll actually text me and go, was that a re-record? Because it didn't seem live. Like it didn't seem like he's heard it before or something, right? Well, yeah, he caught me because he's listened, right? He goes back and listens to the shows. And so I've got some faithful, people out there. And so I've gotten to this place where like I've just had to be okay not having all the answers, knowing I'm not going to hit everybody, like not everybody's going to like my style. And I think I'm more okay if people were to even comment and say, oh, man, that's terrible, or worse, whatever that people might say. Because at the end of the day, I know what works. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what I'm doing at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is serving the masses in a way that might not be happening in most other clinics across the country. Not that I'm special, guys. I mean, I just feel like I'm walking in my anointing. I know the Lord Jesus is all over what I'm doing, and I am letting that flow. And the better I get at it, and don't get me wrong, I have my challenging days, but instead of staying there, I roll through it, I process through it, and then I reflect on how do I avoid letting that happen again. Because you always say, leave your problems at the door. When you're in that clinic room, you can't be thinking about your home issues. You can't be thinking about your personal issues. You're present with the person in front of you. And if you really allow that interplay to happen, it builds your faith. It builds your courage, your confidence. It helps you to kind of keep your eyes focused on. In my case, I keep my eyes focused on Christ, so that I know where my strength comes from. I know where my power comes from. I know where my healing, gifting word comes from, and it's good, right? And it's a good word, and I'm looking for good soil to plant in, man. And so, we're answering questions on the radio these last few weeks, just kind of going through different things. But before we kind of dive into that, I don't know if you got any new questions. You can always interrupt me. You guys can, don't let me just sit over here and ramble. Gardy, we can just sit here and dialogue back and forth if you even have, your own questions, But yesterday we were at clinic, and we do a clinical roundtable every Monday morning for almost 2 hours. And we were discussing different types of bowel cleansing agents and how to get in and really do some cool work on the bowel and how important the bowel is. Oh, well, so-and-so is pooping every day, they say, in the clinical case. Well, I had to say, well, I stopped believing fully that statement. But just because a person has an elimination every day doesn't mean it's complete. It doesn't mean that it is everything their body needs to do in order to maximize their day. And the better a person's bowels flow and move, the healthier a human will be. And so we landed yesterday on doing a clinical bowel detox using intestinal cleanse number 2, which is bentonite clay and activated charcoal, fiber, and some other herbs, slippery elm, fennel, peppermint leaf. I mean, just different things to help drive blood flow into the gut, to clean like a one of those little bottle brushes, kind of clean in the tube that we are. We are a tube from our mouth to our hind end, 28 feet, and we need sometimes something, Roto-Rooter, to kind of go through there and clean that tube. People go, that's kind of gross. I know, but I'm not trying to gross anybody out or talk about stuff that's inappropriate. It's education, right? And I look back at Dr. Richard Scholl's, who is just a cool, earthy guy. And he would always talk about every cancer patient that walked in his door. It didn't matter where the cancer was. He always started with a bowel cleanse. If the bowels aren't moving, the dude ain't grooving. You know what I mean? And we know how I feel about that. So we all decided to do intestinal cleanse number 2. Well, the package says a serving size is 6 capsules, and it says take 3 to 6 capsules with 2 full cups of water 1 to 5 times daily on an empty stomach, alternating the schedule. Take 1 to 2 capsules with a full cup of water once or twice a day. I mean, real low doses of things. And over the years, I've been able to kind of figure out how this product works, and what I've talked to the company enough times. It's a very fascinating how they kind of came to be, Southern Botanicals here. But here's what's interesting. With this product, I have patients start at 2 pills 5 times a day, 5 days on, 5 days off, and then take a break. We got to take that 5-day off, and because it's a pretty intense cleanse. This product can pull 10,000 times its weight trash out of your bowels. And when I mean, people go, oh, well, I ain't doing it because I don't have time for the diarrhea or whatever. I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. The fibers are going to bulk up your bowel, but the bentonite and activated charcoal are going to suck 10,000 times its weight trash off the walls. You like that?
I did. That was
That's
good.
not a palate, by the way. That's my actual voice doing that noise. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, that sounds interesting.
It's impressive.
And so anyway, the reason I had to go to intestinal cleanse number 2 at 2 pills 5 times a day is because people couldn't handle the dose recommendation on the bottle or on the package, and so I went from 5 or 6 5 times a day down to 4. They can't handle it. They couldn't handle 4 5 times a day, so I have now made it down to 3, then to 2. So, and 2 seems to be where most people land. And I still have people that can't even do this much, right? And with kids, of course, I would do less still. And if a person's just flat out not compliant, I would even break it and go, hey, can you get 3 doses a day in? And because I'm trying to, what we're talking about is pulling waste and debris off the walls of the intestine to create surface area so that you have better tilling and digestive capacity and absorbability so that you can get the nutrients across the intestinal lining, that tube, and into your blood where it can then circulate around and go to where it needs to go. And because at the end of the day, you're only as good as the food you
eat.
Oh, great one. However, you're only as good as the food you absorb. How about them apples? Let's plus it. Because you're right.
I wanted to say don't eat.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wait, that's
wrong one. That's right. But and you're right. I mean, because it's easy to put a cupcake in front of us and or a bowl of a salad and go, which one's going to make you healthier?
The salad.
Of course. So you are what you eat. You're 100%. You become what you eat, really is the phraseology we should use. But at the end of the day, if I can't break down the salad because I've got ulcers or irritations or inflammation in my bowel, and I'm caked up, clogged up, and what my system surface area limitations are, I can only get what I can get out of that salad, right? The same as I can only get what I can get out of that. I mean, you actually might, the more clogged you are, it might actually wind up being a buffer to not absorbing all that garbage.
I was going to ask about that. People with like the gluten sensitivities and all that stuff, if their body's not absorbing that in the correct way and it's just passing it through.
Totally. And so when we look at the ability here to pull that mess off the walls, we're increasing surface area. Therefore, we're increasing the little microvilli. We're improving the microbial ecology that allows for better breakdown, better absorption, and so we're maximizing our absorptive power. So we eat food, as you said, we eat, and what we eat is important, but
what we don't eat
is more important. And so that is a very critical thing that we need to discuss. I talked to a guy yesterday, and here's a little nugget for everybody that wants to be healthy. And I just got this yesterday, see if I can pull it out of my head from yesterday. If you eat right, start your day right, if you drink your water right, if you rest right, and if you avoid foods that are inflammatory, you're going to live long and prosper. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to the health. It isn't just as simple as I eat a salad every day and I'm healthy. Now, if you eat a salad every day, are you going to be potentially healthier than if you don't? Oh, yeah. If you go for a walk around the block every day, are you going to be healthier today than you were yesterday? I sure as heck hope so. Volume accumulation over time is powerful. It's like microdosing, right? You're microdosing exercise. Like, I'm going through a process right now called active recovery where I'm rebuilding I'm taking a break from the daily snot beatings that I give myself in the gym, because everybody knows the meatheads that go in there and kind of beat the snot out of themselves. And I'm not saying anything bad about it. I love it. I mean, I really love the endorphin kick. I love how I feel. I love how my day flows. I mean, so I'm willing to drag my hind end out of bed every day in order to do that. However, what about the rest day? Is that rest day as important as the workout day? Absolutely. Well, right now I'm doing a 40-day run where I do still take a day off, but it's an active recovery program that isn't the snot beating that I normally isolate to a particular body part. Now it's more full body. It's hinge work, it's pull work, it's press work, it's hang work, it's grip strength work. It is leg work. I mean, it's full body, and it's targeting mind to muscle connections and feeling the blood moving place to place that I call it to go, and being able to command that. I've always had this dream, by the way, of like being a little, I like to shadow, doctors that are better than I am, and learn from them. I would love to take a ride on a red blood cell, and just ride with him all day long. Wherever he goes, whatever journey, whatever adventures, whatever terrifying acts he has to go forth. Because, I mean, sometimes these red blood cells have to squeeze down into one-lane highways called capillaries. I mean, I might have to hold my breath through. Remember that Washburn Tunnel, Baytown Tunnel? It might be before your time, but I would hold my breath on one side and see if I could make it to the other side, pretending I was like,
yeah,
my dad's like, I'm gonna go slower, and so anyway, in heaven forbid there was a traffic jam in there, but what it comes down to is there's factors that we have to apply to our lives to be healthy, and so doing a bowel cleanse every month for 5 days, could that be a valuable benefit to a person's health? I mean, think about your house. Does your house? I mean, your house is fairly new, right? But does it already need some repairs?
Yeah.
I mean, things just wear out, right? And it does. I talked to a gentleman yesterday. He goes, I want to downsize, but then I realized it doesn't matter. I'm still going to have to fix this or fix that or fix this or fix that, depending on my living standard. Like, it doesn't. I just have more room in this place to hide my messes. We accumulate waste. Well, your body accumulates waste, and so doing an intestinal cleanse, number 1, would be like, or number 2 would be like changing your air filters every month on your house. Do you do that?
I do not.
Oh, you have one of those cool ones that you can do it every 6 months.
It's supposed to be once a year.
Oh, even better. Okay, cool. So technology's allowed you to not have to do but one a year. So, okay, let's just use that as a Dr. Chapa example, right? So what if all you did was a 21-day ultimate detox program once a year? Are you going to get more benefit doing that, giving your body that 21-day vacation from stress and stimulants than if you didn't?
I think so.
Absolutely. Right. Now, what do we say? We want you to do it 42 days a year, so 2 of them, or we want you to do 21, 10, and 10. So I know it's only 41, but, how about just do 21, 10, 11 if you want that 42? But at least at this point, now you're splitting up the second 21, and I think doing a full-out 21-day is good for your psyche. It shows you're more capable of taking responsibility for your health. But, man, I've got patients that they know if they will do one 10-day every quarter, it sets their next 3 months up well. They're more consciously aware of the foods they bring into their body. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
And so going back to it is I had to find this dose of intestinal cleanse number 2 at a lower dose in order to maximize the patient's compliance and patient's ability to actually not get constipated, because it pulls so much waste out of their body. They actually get hard and slow and sluggish, which then causes them to feel fatigued.
That has happened to me in the 21-day detox.
Work.
It was with the fiber. You're like, hey, maybe pull off the fiber.
I remember, yeah.
And so I've had to just alter that.
And that's coaching, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you'd have been like, well, the program didn't work. No, you were smart enough to not throw the baby out the bathwater. And you go, what about this? You know what I mean? I had a patient last week. I did a more advanced protocol than the intestinal cleanse number 2. This is just what I would call the kindergarten, start place. And I don't really want to discredit it like that. But, I mean, I'm shocked. 90% of people cannot handle 2 pills 5 times a day, this stuff. So I know I built a watch. But coming back, we took this product, and me as a clinic and my team, we decided we're going to do 10 pills 5 times a day for the next 5 days. And that's 50 pills.
That's a lot of pills.
That's a lot of pills. And people already, I know you're like turning the dials off. You're saying, oh, I'm out. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to make you do that. But you got to remember, we as a clinic will never, ever at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center ask you to do something that we are not willing to do. Period. End of discussion. We are players in the game. We are actively working the system. We are trying to figure out how to biohack your body in order to feel great, live great, be great all the days of your life. We're going to maximize energy, vitality, and longevity. Those 3 factors are what we're after. Who doesn't want that? Somebody give me some love. Where's my little platform? I need some. We're going to have to really work that in. I'm really feeling it today.
We could do that.
And so that is step 1. And so, in some people, we have to bring in its little sister, intestinal cleanse number 1, because their bowels are so slow and sluggish. If you can't handle 2 pills 5 times a day, 5 pills 5 times a day, 10 pills 5 times a day of the intestinal cleanse 2, it's a test and a remedy in the same bag. Isn't that neat? Meaning, if you can't do this without this, it tells you something about the quality of your bowels and the musculature and the tone. It means that your vitamin C is low. It means that you're clogged up full of trash and waste. It means that you don't have enough magnesium. It means that you don't have enough essential fatty acids. It means that you don't have enough water coming in. It means that you're eating food that is processed and clogging your system up. You're telling me, Dr. Chapa, that you can tell all of that if I can't do this little challenge 5 days. Absolutely, I can. I've seen it. I've seen it time and time again, thousands of times. And I'm mind-boggled because the people that I think that are the healthiest and the people that are cocky enough to tell me they're the healthiest can't do it. And so it's a simple, easy program, 5 days on, 5 days off. You don't even have to change your diet. You should, but you don't have to, which I love about it. I mean, because I'm not asking you to do anything that's terribly hard other than swallow some pills. You know what I mean? And some people go, well, I can't swallow pills. Great. Open them up. Put them in a little thing of water. Stir them around with your finger and get it down. It says drink how much water? It says 2 full cups of water. Well, that's 16 ounces of water. Well, let's take a quick water break. I just took some myself.
Yeah.
Wasn't that cool? You heard the gulp, the from the bottle?
Yeah.
That's so fun. Oh, man. This is a great show. I hope that you guys really grasp this idea of colon cleansing is magnificent. And if you're not embarking on it, it's as detrimental to your health is not doing the Ultimate Detox program with us yearly or twice a year, because if you're not detoxing, if you're not cleansing in the 21st century, the message is simple. You're missing it. You're missing your healthcare key code. You can't get into the house effectively if you don't clean the filters, if you don't clean the exit channels, if you don't maximize the detox pathways. And that's what we do at Living Well.
All right, we have some of those questions.
Let's do it,
We have some questions that have came in, and this one I can actually relate to a bit. So this one says, my kid is having trouble falling asleep at night. Can I give them melatonin at night? How do you feel about melatonin for children?
So melatonin for children. Look, I'm all for and comfortable with melatonin, but I really don't think at that young age we should be leveraging that. Too often, children are doing something very special that we as adults love. We don't love that we have to buy them new clothes all the time or new shoes all the time because they are what?
They're growing.
They're growing. So what is the key factor there? And I would ask further for insight would be, is it that they can't stay asleep or fall asleep? And oftentimes it's the fall asleep. They can't fall asleep. And that's because their calcium and magnesium and essential fatty acid levels are low. And why is it low? Because the body is eternalizing that energy, those minerals, in order to elongate those tissues to maximize the growth curve. Not just growing, but even mental development, organ development, maximizing maturation of tissue, right? So like if the kid is going through a growth spurt and they're having a hard time falling asleep or even focusing in school, I mean, it's the same conversation. They don't have enough mental minerals in order to slow down the thought processes so that they can catch the information. I remember my Russian piano teacher. She was so sweet. I love her, and I wish I would have stuck with it. But she always says, you got to play slow to play fast. Right? And so we use minerals to downshift. And minerals are God's tranquilizers. They will help the body slow down. And so I would start with something more like Mintran. And if that doesn't do it, I'd go to Cataplex G, fat-soluble B vitamins, in order to calm the body down going into the rest state. And then if that doesn't do it, I would be working on the liver with not detox, but with just food for maximizing liver efficiency going into a sleep cycle, because the metabolism can kick a little bit going into a sleep cycle because the liver is about to kick on. Gallbladder first, 10 to 11, and then 11 to 1, or 1 to 3 for the liver. And so the liver, when it starts to ramp up as the evening starts to get closer and closer to those gallbladder liver meridians, it can give a kick to the body, and they get a little cortisol action, they get a little blood sugar spike, their body's like, preparing itself, but then the kid can't wind down because they don't have the minerals to slow down. So, when in doubt, I mean, if that's all you were doing, sleep is better than no sleep, 100%. So I'm 100% with you that melatonin is seemingly your answer, but because it's a kid, I would absolutely suggest let's look deeper. Let's not go play in the upstream realm of neurotransmitters and whatnot. Let's go look at the fundamentals, vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, making sure that we are doing what we need to do as a nighttime ritual to calm the evening, so that we aren't ramped up and lit up like Fort Knox.
Here's another question that came in. Follow up. What if they can't swallow pills?
Great question. I have a powder. And so all you have to do, for my kiddos, it's a great question. Thank you for the question. And so I literally take a fingerful and I will put it in my own mouth and show them so they can try it. So I can put it on a saucer and they could, lick their finger and put it in the powder and put it in the mouth. Tastes like chalk. Doesn't taste like anything. I mean, don't you remember eating chalk as a kid? I mean,
I'm more of a Play-Doh guy.
Oh
yeah, but I remember.
You know what that means, though? That means
What?
something. I know that. So you're like, you're kidding me. And no, seriously, Play-Doh lovers have an adrenal problem, and they do, because it's the salt. You're actually craving.
I love the salt. I loved the salt. Yeah.
I know. So I was that guy too.
It's like kindergarten.
Yeah, that's right.
Preschool. I remember.
It's like, can we get Kurt to bring us a serving of
Need
Play-Doh?
a fresh can.
Yeah.
Bring me a fresh can.
Oh, praise God. So great follow-up is if they can't swallow pills, you can take the calcium magnesium powder, and I put just a little half teaspoon or teaspoon, depending on how much, because every kid's different, and I'll put it in the lid. And then I'll say, all right, open up like little birdie, and then I'll tap it, the lid edge on their top teeth, not hard, just gentle enough to get it all out into their mouth, and then they kind of chomp it and they go, And it literally is wonderful. And they might fuss or whatever because they just want to be that way. But I'm telling you, once you get it in, now can you put it in a little shot glass of water and yeah, as long as they do all the water. I just found put it all in the mouth, then hit the water because it'll swoosh right down, and it literally tastes like nothing. It's called calcium magnesium powder. It is so rich in calcium, magnesium from like sea algae and stuff and sea veg. That it's got other trace elements in it as well, but it's that concentrated calcium magnesium that really does the trick. And then the essential fatty acid part, what you could do is we have these little gel balls that are omegas, and they taste like oily lemon gummy bears. They don't really taste bad. They just kind of taste like a lemon. And you could take 3 or 4 of those and throw it down. My kid Ellie, she was sick the other evening, and so when we got home, I gave her chewable Congoplex. I have a chewable, version of this product that is a very strong anti-infective, but it also has calcium magnesium in it. So if they don't want the powder, they can chew the little tablets. They taste like cherries. I mix that with chewable Catalin, which does taste like cherries. It's even more concentrated cherry-y flavor. And that's 200 phytonutrients and phytochemicals packed in a little tablet. Beautiful combo. You do Catalin, chewable Congoplex, the calcium magnesium powder, the Omega gels, the Omega Force Junior. That cocktail alone, I would stand on all day long in confidence that I'm giving your kid way more than they're ever going to get from anything you're going to get anywhere else. So because of the volume and concentration of nutrients coming in those particular products, and I couldn't practice without these things. They're critical for kids, and I even love them for traveling and going on airplane rides and things like that, because I want that something I can chew and maximize absorption really quick as an adult. So I use them for adults too that can't swallow pills and that need an alternative, right? So absolute great question. We will find you a solution. And if that isn't good enough, we also have liquid homeopathics. We have liquid versions of things too that could be of service. But I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, if the issue is calcium magnesium and I can't get it in, I can give you all the homeopathics in the world and all the herbs in the world. If you don't have the vitamin, mineral, essential fatty acid balance at the core, at the foundation, at the root, then you're never going to get the result you're after. So another, just a caveat to that is you've got to have the foundational nutritional density in order to maximize herbal stimulation or homeopathic stimulation. Because the body, it'd be like asking me to get $100 from you and you don't got $100. I don't have $100. Got 100 rocks. Oh, okay.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it doesn't spend the same, does it?
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right, I have another question as well. This one is about a teenager. My 13-year-old daughter is a soccer athlete and is absolutely exhausted. Win or lose after games. When they lose a game, she's very emotional, distraught for nearly the rest of the day. Is there any suggestions?
Sure. So look, even if I was at the gym and I was training somebody, and they would say they were able to do the workout, but then they were exhausted, tired the rest of the day, I would say it's time to back off the training. Like I'm pushing them too hard. Because if their body can't recover post, play, and gym would be extracurricular play or soccer would be extracurricular play, and their body crashes, they're telling us that they don't have the mineral base in order to maximize recovery. Their adrenal glands are on their way down the slippery slope to adrenal fatigue, and that's why she's exhausted. She needs to literally go home and recharge her batteries. Okay, patient came in yesterday, had a Garmin, cool iPhone type watch, told you all these cool body metrics and all this fun stuff. And one of the things was your mitochondrial energetic battery. And I can't remember the exact phraseology of it. I just never heard of it, but it was really neat. But it specifically said your internal battery is low. That's how, based on these assessments, your heart rate variability, your the number of breaths times that you stopped during the day, how well you slept last night, how active you were, and what your current stress load has been throughout the day, your internal batteries are high, medium, low, or however it measured it. And so in this gal's case, it could be several factors. Is a teenager, so cycling teenager, could be iron deficiency. I would first go there. Because what if it's simply we need to get more taxi cabs taking nutrition to the destination? So maybe her bowels are moving good. Maybe mom's doing a good job making sure electrolytes where they need to be. And the fact that you're asking this question tells me you probably are doing your due diligence on some of these fronts. But what if, physiologically, she doesn't have enough carrier molecules, carrier blood cells to get the nutrition from point A to point B, and therefore she burns out the cell. The cell's waiting around for hoping, to get a relief. Nobody comes. Is hoping for a shipment of goods. Nobody comes, and finally just says, "Oh man, I'm just sleepy. I'm going to sleep on the job." And now the kid's at home, exhausted, tired, or worse, they lose the game, and they crash. They completely have the mental meltdown. And that mental meltdown is another indicator that the adrenals are struggling to keep up with the adrenaline dump, okay, and that is because they lack vitamin C, they lack the fat-soluble B vitamins, they lack some key minerals in order to maximize adrenal function. So great, excellent question. It could be iron, which we would do an iron test in our office to find out what the iron load is. Maybe it's ferritin, maybe her red blood cell CBC count's jacked up, and we would look at it and say, all right, well, these are things we do. And yes, I will go ahead and tell you, I have pill versions and liquid versions to help people get iron levels up or build that blood or support those adrenal glands. Even have a couple creams for the adrenal glands that we can use in order to soothe and restore the adrenal glands.
I remember you brought one of those in one time.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Adrenacom and Adrenastim. Yeah.
That's very cool.
And, it's just so interesting. I'm really thankful that God has put me in contact with different companies around the country that have, done some of the hard science research thinking for us. I just had to be conduit to translate it to you guys to know how to use it. Mm-hmm. And there's just a wealth of information in the Living Well Supply House. So when you come by the office, and you should just come by and check out the Detox Center at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, because we have hydro massage beds where you can come in there and just check out, relax, feel good. And man, it does feel good. You can go do a foot bath, and you can do two versions, one where we suck trash out of your body through your lymph system, or we drive nutrients in through your body. And it's a very powerful tool, especially if you're run down, tired, sick, having a hard time getting supplements into the kiddos. Bring that soccer player in, on Saturday before noon. Bring them in after school and put them in a foot bath, on Friday before the game. Charge those batteries so that they sleep well. Then make sure they're eating well. Make sure they're hydrating well. Make sure they're, we're doing the due diligence that we can control, so that whenever they go out and perform, they have reserve in the tank on the backside.
Okay, here's another question that came in, and I missed it, but I got a text about it. But it came in. So it says, what about, I guess, a 10-year-old that's having trouble not wetting the bed?
Oh, always a challenge, but not something that we can't help with. And the challenge is there's been two major factors that we see that cause bedwetting, especially at 10 years old, because obviously that's late, right? Where I really learned this was a 28-year-old still wearing diapers, had her whole childhood wrecked and ruined because, flat out, it's kind of weird, right? She didn't fit the normal mold, and it takes a special friend to appreciate that. And so she just had very few friends because of it, and a lot of emotion around it. Talk about self-image stuff, and so I have a heart for that, and want to find a solution. So we always start, no matter what comes in the office, we're starting at the basics, and we're going to ask specific questions to make sure and maximize that the nutrient density is there for the body to work. Got to have a launch pad. And that's step one. Step two is we are going to deburden the body. Now, what am I going to deburden the body of? I have found two major things that cause the body to malfunction and allow that detox pathway to not stay in closed position during the night cycle, and that's what they typically wet the bed. And so you could probably time this and say, what time is the bedwetting occurring? And it's probably between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., and that's during the liver meridian. The liver's stressed out. It calls on the kidneys and says, hey, due to the burden, I have to call the kidneys to help eliminate some of this waste. The problem is the kids are when they do get into that deep sleep state, they're sedated. They're gone. And so the frontal lobe fully hasn't developed at 10 years old. Frankly, your frontal lobe hasn't developed until you're at least 25 to 26 years old. And that's why you see young, youthful people that have bedwetting early on because of the fragility of that frontal lobe maturation. And you also see it in the elderly where the degeneration has occurred over time, and they haven't done their proper due diligences to maintain tone in the frontal lobe, and they start bedwetting in the later years of life, unfortunately. And but the liver and the kidneys are your two players. Of course they are. I'm peeing. Got it. All right, I know. But the two factors that I've found is metal toxicity. Could be chemical. It could be the fumes from the mattress. It could be the chemicals their body's not getting rid of because maybe they have a liver glitch and they're not able to excrete the toxins very well. They could have a B vitamin issue where they're not manufacturing Bs well because their bowels are slow and sluggish, which then causes the liver to not dump toxins into the bowel, and it backs up, and the body uses secondary exit strategy to push those toxins or chemicals or metals through the kidneys, and that is very common. Okay, so now you get this, this underdeveloped frontal lobe, and then you have this bedwetting situation due to toxicity. So what would we do? We would begin to support the kidneys, and we would support the liver. Okay, but now the other major burden, and this is a really cool one. Seen this so many times. I mean, more than I can count. And it's parasites, parasites that are now, I think, again, because the bowels are slower than they need to be, because there's trash clogged up, because what kid doesn't eat garbage? You know what I mean? And they are feeding the parasites down there. And yes, every one of us, guys, has some sort of parasite. I'm not talking about the kind that you go into a third world country or to some foreign country and you eat something you shouldn't have, and then you're like in a hospital for 14 days or 36 days. I'm not talking about that. Those are what we call pathogenic parasites, pathogenic viruses, pathogenic bacteria. I am not talking about tapeworms, right? I'm talking about little things that are already in us. They're already in our bodies, and they have just been fed the wrong foods, so they grew. Vitamins for the bad guy. When you have two teams, the one that you feed well outperforms the other. Endurance and strength and athleticism, all that. So if we're feeding the bad guys the stuff they want, which is sugar, which nothing below your taste buds wants it, you're feeding those guys and they're getting stronger. But the issue is the bowel. If the bowels are slow and sluggish, they have this perfect nesting pot to grow, develop, and make manifest inside of your intestines. I call it the serpent in the belly. If you have one of these serpents in the belly, we've got to get rid of it. We've got to change your intestinal ecology so well that the bugs don't want to live there. And so it's like we have to do pest control, if you will, on your intestinal tract. And oftentimes we see these parasites aren't just in the intestinal tract. They're actually now been able to cross over into the blood, and they travel to all parts of the body. So now they're disrupting the frontal lobe, brain activity. They're disrupting the kidneys. They're disrupting the lymphatic system. They're literally returning you to the dust. They're decaying the person. So we want to get in there and stir that up and make sure that we address bowel, liver, parasites, metals, or chemicals, and we have seen great success in finding solutions and resolutions for bedwetting. And I've had patients come in, and man, I try so hard to meet people right where they're at because, I get it. Sometimes people just don't want to take pills. They won't swallow pills, and thank God he's given me, solutions, liquids, and things like that. But sometimes, we just have to get the dose right. Like if you take a water pistol to a forest fire, you're not going to get the result you're after, even though it's the right it's the right idea. So the right idea underdosed won't get a result. Sometimes you've got me, the clinician, my team, the clinicians, have to be confident enough that they can push that system hard enough to get an upper hand. Once the body gets an upper hand, it'll hold it. It's just helping it get the upper hand. It's asking for more, which is why we have people come in regularly for visits while we're dealing with stuff like that. Because, I mean, it's not a one-and-done treatment. It's not a, hey, take this, antibiotic, or take this steroid, or take this, antiparasitic. I mean, yeah, sure, it could potentially work, I mean, everybody in the world right now is learning so much about ivermectin. I mean, of how powerful it is. And we were always using it for heartworms, and we were using it for, dog treatment stuff. But now everybody's like willing to take it themselves, and because of its antimicrobial properties. But now everybody's asking, well, how much do I take? They don't know, because we're so disconnected from therapies that actually are old school and have been around forever, that work grand and great, because we've trusted medicine too much. We've trusted the big pharma to build the perfect pill, if you will. But as usual, God always gives us resources, multitudes of resources for the same problem. So,
talking about the perfect pill, kind of leads into this next question. We used to hear that it was recommended that we should take aspirin for heart health. Now it's no longer recommended. I'm confused. What's up with that?
Yeah, great question. Love that question. I've been telling people for years to not do that. Even when they do that, and the medical doctor says, but you're going to die, and they scare the bejeebas out of them. And I'm like, hey, listen, man, I get it. When all you know is pharma, all you know is what you've been taught, you have to appreciate. I have to appreciate that I don't know what I don't know. I have to appreciate that, that right there, the statement that you have always been told this, but now they're telling me this, and they're contradictory, and I don't understand, should tell you they don't know either. They're guessing. I mean, they've been doing research on it for the last 50 years and just finally figured out that there isn't an aspirin tree. Gardy, did you know there's no tree out there that grows aspirin?
It's the first time hearing. This is news to me.
I know, right? I know. You just think that little magical bottle, there's an aspirin tree in that chemical plant back there. No. They actually manufacture that thing. And I'm just being a little, fussy or whatever. I'm just playing. But in all reality, aspirin has destroyed more stomachs. Why do you think antacids are such a high prescribed medication in the culture that we live in today? Why are so many people dealing with acid reflux, indigestion, heartburn? Why do they have all these upper GI bloating intestinal issues going on? And it's things like aspirin. It literally can burn a hole. Acid in an acidic environment, it can ruin your already acidic environment, your stomach, and then that alters how much acid you produce. Therefore, you put now proteins down in there from different types of meat, animal sources, and you wonder, I can't produce my output, of acid anymore because I broke the pump because there's a big hole in it. It's like I got a wound down there, and it's very interesting to me because the aspirin is directly associated with stomach and intestinal ulcers, 100%. Does it thin the blood? Yeah, it thins the blood, but is there a better way? I'm telling you with 100% confidence that God has given us multiple solutions, and frankly, better solutions than what man can manufacture. I love man, and I love what science has allowed man to figure out and create. Because of the curiosity of man, we keep digging and learning and growing, but we also, unfortunately, are wrong a lot of times, and we get away from the basics of life, and we find we are going to be wanting. And that's what's happening here. So what do we do in this case? And how do we thin the blood? You could do something really extreme like nattokinase. That's a pretty advanced enzyme that will definitely thin the blood. I don't necessarily recommend that unless, you better hear me, you're under care. Because I have seen people have heart palpitations and some other things from that because they thin the blood too much. It's that good. I have seen fish oils be absolutely remarkable at thinning the blood. And every one of you already know it's true because what does your doctor tell you before you go in for your little surgery? Don't take any fish oil. As a matter of fact, don't take anything at all. That's their favorite new words. Don't take anything extra than I'm telling you. Well, I'm sorry, that's wrong too. Just because you don't know, that'd be like me telling a patient to stop taking all their medications just because I don't understand what medication and why they put them on that medication. That's not my business. You need to consult your doctor. But here's what I do know. Doctor, I'm talking to you now. Don't take my patients off of my protocol without calling me. You know why? Because you don't understand what I'm doing. I have to understand what you're doing and respect that. I would expect the same in decency. We're caring for the same human. Let's offer them an understanding that just because you don't understand doesn't mean I don't understand. Now, I know there's bad, people, how about this? Not bad people. Incompetent people out there that could do something wrong. I get that. But I also would say the same on the medical front. I mean, there's this thing where I can't remember the year it was, but like all the doctors went on strike in this particular state, and the death rate went down. More people were surviving without the doctors. That's interesting. You know what I mean? So, and this was in my lifetime, like when this was happening. And so you could use, like I said, different oils, getting the oils right in the body. But you have to ask a better question still, like why is the blood thickening, and why are you needing to thin it down?
Instead of treating it, what's the root of the problem?
And they might say, well, because I had a stroke, or I had a clot, or I had a cardiovascular incident of some sort, right? No, that's the symptom.
What's the cause of that?
What's the cause of that? And so we have to keep going upstream. There's a book that a good friend of mine, she works with me, Jennifer Withy. Hi, if you're out there. And so she gave me called, because she knows I love these little things. But in this particular book, it says, change your questions, change your life. Well, my other favorite book from Tom Cooley, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. And so if we change the question and we ask better questions, you change the outcome of your circumstance and the world around you. We just unfortunately don't always know the questions to ask. And so from a blood thinning perspective, and aspirin being a good idea or a bad idea, I'm going to tell you there's more detriment taking aspirin regularly than there is taking fish oil that could thin your blood equally, or taking, I use, balance out the calcium, magnesium, phosphorus ratios. You'll balance out, blood thickness and blood thinning. And so there's things that we do clinically in our treatment rooms and when we're serving people that we can get alongside them. And look, guys, I'm not claiming, diagnosing, treating anything. I'm just getting in that space, and I'm working with a human, and I'm understanding, listening to their story, and I'm going, okay, I've seen that, I've heard that. I can correlate it back to the blood work here. I can pull it into their history here. I can listen to why this happened there, and then all of a sudden, through different little series of testing and observations, we go, this is the next right step for you, and we take it. And then when you see that pattern happen regularly, you start to build clinical confidence, and then you go, I've seen that before. And actually, I see a little caveat. It turned right here instead of left. Oh, it's okay. We're going to do it anyway. See, the body's magical. It does what God designed it to do. Mm-hmm. Putting the raw ingredients in at the fundamental nutritional level will bring balance to the system as a whole. It's beautiful. I love it.
That whole question talking about, well, they used to say this and then it changed. So me and my wife, we just had a baby. She's 5 weeks old, and our oldest above that, he's 2 years old. And just seeing the standard of care, I think is what they call it.
In 2 years.
Yeah, it changes. It's well, that's not the standard of care anymore. Things change, and it's like, okay, well, it kind of maybe changes. Something changes daily, I'm sure.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just interesting.
And it is interesting. And we have to appreciate, right, that somebody's out there studying and trying to make change, because the evolution of thought helps to potentially, think of technology. Wow, how amazing is it that you and I can right now, while on the air, probably could multitask this out. We could, do a quick click, and something would show up at our house, later on this afternoon. You know what I mean? Yeah. What world do we live in?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the body, though, fundamentally, when people came out with the MRSA and bacterium that is a methicillin-resistant to antibiotics bacteria. It's a type of bug that has built up a resistance to modern-day technology of antibiotics, which means we've overutilized antibiotics. When the bug has figured out to out-strategize, get this, the antibiotic treatment of choice, we've overused the drug, which tells you something also, that they're survivors as well. They're not going away. You're going to have to live with the bugs. It's who is to subdue who? The Bible says that we are to subdue the creepy crawly things, that we are to subdue the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, and the things that crawl and move around on the ground, right? I mean, this is the goal, is that we are in the driver's seat, not the bugs. You don't want the bugs, driving your path. There's a great, scary, terrifying book, frankly, called Your Brain on Parasites. And it sounds terrifying just with the name, but what's more disturbing is the perspective that the doctor has. I mean, she researched through and through. This is a very well-documented, researched topic. And she was talking about how the bugs literally guide the creature to the next predator in order to travel to the next destination in order to repopulate another area of the globe.
They got little reins.
Leading
the way, go left and right.
Very, very creepy. Very creepy. And I know, it's funny, right? Because you're like, no way. And I'm just, go read the book, dude. I mean, you can't argue with her science. You can't argue. I mean, you can question it all day long. I want to question it too. I don't want to think for a second that, there is a parasite strong enough, powerful enough, in a colony big enough to control me. Yeah, well, those parasites. How cocky is that to think otherwise?
If they deplete you of something, it makes you crave things. Like you talked about the adrenals, like wanting to eat the Play-Doh, or it's really what are you
deficient
craving?
In? Yeah, and there, my friend, is the answer. Who is driving that craving? It's not always as simple like, oh, well, I just love Play-Doh. I mean, no, you don't just
like
love
the taste. I like
eating
the flavor.
Chalk.
Right.
I mean, are you nuts? No, but if that's the only place, listen, your body, and how brilliant is the body? It knows that there's calcium carbonate in chalk, and it's willing to go indulge in calcium carbonate, which takes 11 to 12 chemical reactions before it can be used in the body. I mean, it's how hard it is. It's not. So you better have excellent digestion. You better have excellent absorption. You better have excellent surface area in order to maximize that absorptive power, right? I'm just telling you. You don't, by the way. You don't. And that's why calcium carbonate is the worst form of calcium. So if you pick up your calcium bottle and it says calcium carbonate on there, that's not the one you want. Come by Living Well and we'll get you the right one. And so the end goal is to appreciate that these little boogers are literally driving your cravings, and they're living in you right now. And it's okay, because we can help your body become what it's supposed to be, the captain of the ship, and control the cravings. The cravings are just your body out of control. And so you nailed it, buddy. I mean, the fact that, if you got that, makes me hope that somebody else got that, which, brings us to the end of our show today. And I hope that people enjoyed. I don't know if there's any other pertinent questions we need to hit right this second. But from the live talk. But here's what I'll tell you. At Living Well, we believe that all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition drives it all. It drives how you feel physically. It drives how you feel emotionally. It impacts how you are spiritually. It really does. I mean, find me somebody that doesn't have good digestion and eats well and eats clean and avoids all the unnecessary stimulants of the world, that isn't performing at top notch. Versus somebody that has been constipated for 3 or 4 days and they're depressed. I mean, I see it each and every day. We got to start at the bottom, and we start at nutrition, and then we build. We see the physical take on a new way. We see the emotional take on a new way, and a spiritual take on a new way, and it's really beautiful, and I love it. And so, we believe that we can make a difference in doing our part, and we want to teach you how to do your part. We want to teach you that it's your life, your health, your choice. And at Living Well, we got a great team of people that love you, care about you, and we just are always out to give you the best that we can give each and every week on the show, live, and for those that subscribe, it'll magically come into your podcast box. It just pops up. Oh, Dr. Chapa had a new show this week. You should tune in. And I want you to listen in. I want you to see, what am I talking about? And is it valid, in making a difference in your life today? Can I apply something I learned today? And then make comments like, say something nice. That goes a long way. It helps us know that the message is empowering. It help if you share it with friends, family, and loved ones. I mean, somebody else could benefit. I'm pretty sure that people in your life has benefited from you and I doing this show for the last several years, right?
For sure.
And so we are definitely excited about what God's doing in your life, what God's doing in our lives, and together what we're going to do collectively together over time.
If you want to learn more, you can go to justlivewell.com. Also, call 281-554-8600. Here's a reminder. You can join Living Well at the Anchor Point Fun Run on November 12th. They'll be hanging out at the booth. Swing by and hang out with them there. So if you watch the show on social media, there's a registration link in the comments as well. Check out Anchor Point.
Definitely. I wish I would have hit that one. I'm glad you caught it. That's an awesome one. And November 12th with Anchor Point Ministries, one of our favorite just kind of ministries to support what they do for dads and moms and young babies and preconception babies. I mean, just the seeds that are sown to save lives and make a difference, guys. Love them dearly. God bless Anchor Point. And November 12th, we're going to team up and we're going to do some fun outdoor activity. So y'all have a great and blessed afternoon.
This is KHEA Radio 99.5 FM.